Welcome, my name's Doctor Warrick Bishop. I'm a cardiologist, I'm an author and a keynote speaker. I'm CEO of the Healthy Heart Network. I'm all about trying to help people live as well as possible for as long as possible. Heart disease is huge in Australia. Every 20 minutes someone suffers a heart attack. Most of these could probably have been avoided if only we knew what to do. This podcast is all about helping you understand blood pressure, weight, cholesterol for better health. If you enjoy this podcast, I would be honoured for a 5-star review. You can share it with your family and friends. It may well save someone you love. Hi, my name's Dr. Warrick Bishop and welcome to my podcast and videocast station. I'm really pleased today to have all the way from Florida, Mark Fox. He's an author, he's an inventor, he's an entrepreneur. He is the CEO and founder of Rezona Health, and I'm very keen to know more about that. It's in the space of pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. I'm delighted to have you, Mark. Thank you for joining.
Well, thank you for having me. This will be great. Thank you.
Mark, I had the chance to, we've had the chance to chat, but I've also had the chance to look through your bio, and you've got a very interesting background, just so that our listeners, viewers, have a bit of an idea of your journey. Would you like to give us a little of a executive summary on how you've got to where you are?
Sure. I started off, my undergraduate's in chemical engineering. I started off, in 1983, that's how old I am. It's like I was a chemical engineer. My best friend was a nuclear physicist, and there was nobody hiring anybody. And so we were hanging drywall for $3.50 an hour. And I never intended to ever get in rockets because my dad was in rockets. And it's like, I didn't want to do that. But somebody came and said, hey, there's this company just got the shuttle processing contract for the space shuttle. Did you put your resume in there? And I'm like, no. So I did, and that happened real fast. I got hired, and I said, well, I'll just stay a few months. And I was there about 15 or 16 years. So I was on the space shuttle program as an engineer. Wow. I switched to a number of different companies after that. If you're old enough to remember what a zip drive is, I worked at customer service and the internet back when the internet was starting in 1996, 97. And so I ran like a call center, those type of things. I've done some weird stuff, like I've owned part of a women's clothing company as well. And so, but the basic business fundamentals are the same. Where I got to with PEMF and energy therapy was my dog. She had arthritis in her spine. She was older, like 12 years old. And a veterinarian that's a very good friend of mine said, hey, I know this magic machine that can reverse arthritis. So we didn't get a chance to treat her because she got too sick too fast, but that was 26, 7 years ago. And I've been studying energy therapy stuff and starting off being critical, like this can't work. I'm a rocket scientist. It's like, this is a bunch of crap. And then you start to play with it and look at it and do more research, and you find out there's something here. So still skeptical, but the more and more testing I do, the more and more I read about, and the more results we get from customers. It's not 100%, but it's a very high success rate. And it's starting to make more and more sense to me what's actually probably happening with the science. But that's how I got involved to it. It led through my dog, basically, that had arthritis.
Look, I'll jump in there really just to offer my own journey for pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. I'm a cardiologist, have been for nearly as long as you've worked for the space shuttle and Zip. But so very conventional. I bought a franchise, what's called an OsteoStrong franchise, which is centered on bone strengthening, muscle strengthening. But in the franchise, literally when I opened the box, there was pulsed electromagnetic field therapy and mats in there. And a bit like you, very skeptical, almost cynical. I thought, gee whiz, this is left field. This is a little bit hippie, mung bean, maybe whale music, crystal sort of stuff. This sounds like rubbish until I started to research it. And you're probably aware of some of the resources that we can use in medicine. And there's a resource called the Cochrane Review Library, which is considered a very high grade of evidence. You get reviewed and the quality of the research has to be solid to get into the Cochrane Review library. Well, Mark, as I looked through the Cochrane Review, I found more and more articles on pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, and it literally opened my mind. So I was super excited to have the chance to speak with you. Where did you go after that? I'm starting to become a believer.
Well, I actually started after that. After iOmega, I started teaching creative thinking. So I was doing keynote presentations just for getting started off with engineers, but then it turned more into marketing and a lot of other things. I wrote a book called Da Vinci and the 40 Answers, which a thing called TRIZ, T-R-I-Z. It's a Russian acronym that roughly translates to the theory of inventive problem solving. And there's a whole history behind all of that, but basically there's only 40 solutions to any problem. And so Henrik Altschuler looked at it. He looked at hundreds, like 300,000 patents to start with. And then since then, the community's looked at millions of patents, but it gives you a lens to look at a problem from a different angle. So I did that, was lecturing because all the people teaching it at the time were Russian PhDs, and they just were very boring how they presented it. So I tried to make it more fun and inclusive and that type of thing. So that's what I did. Next, my wife said, so how many companies you started in the last 10 years? I'm like, I don't know. She goes, well, go count them. So I've created music and art from DNA. I know enough about DNA to be dangerous, okay, doing fun things with it. I know how the FBI systems work and stuff, but just doing creative stuff with drug testing, some weird things. And then I came across this stuff, as I said, that I always had in the background, but it wasn't until 7-8 years ago I got serious about it. What got me really into it was I got angry because I saw what it was doing for PTSD. And with our device, we actually have a 98% success rate. But at the time, I was furious that, we got 22 military vet suicides a day, 44 counting, the 15 first responders, 5 medical workers, and 2 active duty. That's not counting all the civilian people. And I was just frustrated this technology was being held hostage in a clinical environment with expensive machines and doctors. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to make that device that's affordable. And so I started off naively with that after piles of coils over here and burning things up and trying to make devices. We finally got a combination of things that works fantastic. But that was the first thing that got me excited was PTSD. Since then, we have like 59 different protocols plus expansion ones that are another 70, but anxiety, back pain. One study we kicked off last week is on blood sugar. And we have lots anecdotal data that shows it brings blood sugar down, but we got to go, like you said, I need statistical P factors below 0.05 and all that stuff. So the Facebook haters don't attack me. And by the way, the medical community is the only people that use statistics backwards. Everybody else would say a 95% probability with a 90% confidence. No, the medical says P factor below 5, which means there's less than a 5% chance it was due to chance, not the intervention. I don't know why you guys do it backwards, but you do. So we have all that data on PTSD. We will get it for blood sugar and also vagus nerve. So we're doing a study on vagus nerve right now for toning the vagus nerve and measuring heart rate variability and about 20 other parameters. But yeah, it's fun. It's interesting to see and it's not just for people, it's for pets too. So dogs, cats, horses. It's weird because PEMF, if you went on the street with a microphone and said, hey, you know what PEMF is? About 1 out of 20 people, maybe 2 out of 20 will say yes, because they'll know about a mat, like in a chiropractor's office or something. Sure. But the horse industry, almost every horse owner knows what it is because they know the veterinarians have what's called a MagnaWave, which is a big machine. They come out and they treat the horses with it. So this small device actually fits in a little neck band that goes around the horse and sits on their vagus nerve. And we're getting super good results with that. So I'm excited about that too. We're actually going to. So
we're opening lots of doors here, Mark. I've got some insight because I know you've got a device, but there are people listening who have probably missed exactly what it is that we're doing here and how that's working. So let's just take a step back. We've clearly got a technology that we're looking to help with post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, back pain, blood sugar levels can help horses. Let's take a step back and just explain for those listening or watching what the device is and And maybe even why pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, well, what that is and why it might be helping.
So I'll take it actually to a higher level for a second. So think of it as an energy exchange. So nothing in the world happens without an energy exchange. You don't breathe oxygen, you don't eat food, you don't cook food, you don't fall down, break your leg, you don't do lots of things. Okay. So the frequencies can be delivered with light, sound, electrical current, vibration, magnetic, electrical, light, sound, and vibration. The reason I picked PEMF is its most convenient way to deliver the energy because there's no wires on you. And it looks like that. It's a pocket device. It's easy, but it could, I mean, this is a prototype. The chair I'm sitting in is vibration prototype. I've got all kinds of prototypes with lights. MIT actually has reversed plaque in the brain and Alzheimer's with flickering 40 hertz light. And I've told them they're doing it wrong. They're not listening to me. But anyway, because we have way more data than they do on 40 hertz. But it's an energy exchange in the simplest sense. And this is, again, a theory because nobody knows how aspirin works either or any other drug. You have theories, but you can't prove it. Okay. So, but what has been shown is the cells in your body have a charge on them like a car battery. When that voltage gets low, you get sick. This recharges your cells' batteries. The other thing is, and I got attacked the other day because I pronounced it wrong, adenosine triphosphate. Hopefully I said it correct that time. I said adenosine triphosphate, and I got murdered by Facebook haters. But anyway, ATP is the number one fuel in the food chain that your cells use for food and energy. So it can increase that up to 500%, and that's been shown multiple times in studies. So it's recharging your cells' batteries. It's giving your cells food so your body can do what it's designed best to do, which is heal itself. That's it at the highest level. Now, magnetic therapy, back to these, has been around since 3500 BC, right? I mean, literally 3500 BC. And it's been shown that a pulsed electromagnetic field is just at least 100 times more therapeutic. So in the last 50, 100 years or so, it's migrated that way. Now, one interesting thing, think about it from this perspective. Your body's mechanical, electrical, and chemical. Only in the United States. We're the only ones that did this in 1934 because Dale Carnegie and Rockefeller decided, hey, I own oil and I can make drugs out of oil and I own the medical industry. So I'm going to pull your license and you're not going to get any funding to the university if you do anything but drugs and surgery. So all the electrical stimulation and energy transfer research got scrapped, or the majority of it.
Wow.
In this country, nowhere else. So that's why we're behind in it. But pieces and reminiscences of that stuff have been found, and people have the last 20, 30 years, 35 years now, have kind of dug in. Most of the protocols come from 8,000 practitioners over 35 years playing with it. So the frequencies that are on there are two frequencies, like a chord on a guitar, and the protocols are songs. So the chords change every 1 to 4 minutes. It is actually, I went full circle in this design. It's actually a music player without a speaker. Okay. I'll show you what it is. So it's a battery with a circuit board and coils. Now, if you took those coils out and put a speaker in, you would hear it play. Actually, all the protocols are MP3 songs. So I built them on a music synthesizer. Okay. So it's transferring the energy that way. It's a song for your body that's come from trial and error in a clinical environment. Like I said, with doctors, chiropractors, acupuncturists, playing with, and we still do today, right? You fine tune some things. And vagus nerve particularly, I didn't play with a lot because I'm not a doctor. Don't even play one. I'm a rocket scientist, right? I don't treat, diagnose, cure, nothing. But there's so much data out there now on the vagus nerve and toning the vagus nerve, what goodness that does for the human, for the body. Don't even have to be a human. And so one of my quote competitors, and I don't call them a competitor because they're one of the good guys, is like, they agree with me, rising tide lifts all ships. And they end up doing the largest PEMF study with vagus nerve in the world, I think, 480 people last year. And so I talked to those guys briefly, and they said, what frequency do you think it is? And I gave them what I thought the recipe was, and I was right. So we have a huge success they had a huge success. I don't have the millions to run the study they did. Okay. But it came off that data. So now we're playing with vagus nerve. We're doing, like I said, we're doing some clinical trials on that. I think that's going to do some amazing things. But yeah, that's a long answer to your question.
So we're talking about science where the cells in the body have a charge, and we're talking about pulsed electromagnetic field therapy that's delivered at different wavelengths or different chords, if you like, with different pulsations making a song. There must be a number of key conditions that you're hoping that the device can deliver a benefit for. Where do you see that, Mark? If someone's listening to this, you've obviously alluded to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but if someone's listening to this and they have an achy back or a sore knee or whatever it might be, or even memory issues or stress, tell me, what are the top 5 things that you think you can really offer something for through your resonance frequency therapy and the Rezona product?
So let me emphasize it again. I don't treat, diagnose, and cure anything. What I've been saying for several years is it's an FDA general wellness device, which means you can help somebody live well with that condition. But unfortunately, the FDA doesn't want this to exist. And we can go down that rabbit hole, but they don't even want that anymore. It's like, that's a battle. But to answer your question, PTSD is number 1. Anxiety is probably number 2 because it's the most popular ailment or condition in the world with people in every culture, every country is anxiety. And of course, back pain, neck pain, some of the things that you've said. Blood sugar, we already mentioned. Sleep, because in the end, if you can just get better sleep, your body can repair itself. And so me personally, that's the one I use the most, is sleep. And there's a protocol called general inflammation. And I get this asked all the time. It's like, will this help with RSM? I don't know what the acronym even means. You look it up and you Google it and you go, okay, about 80% of the time it ends up being inflammation of something, right? So it's run general inflammation. Allergies. There's a billion different kinds of allergies. It makes me scratch, makes me do this, so run that. Toxicity, run a liver protocol. If it's nerve related, run fibromyalgia. So and I'm getting a lot of doctors doing that. Last summer, I had 3 doctors in the same week, which is odd. There's some weird frequency harmony going on there. They said, this thing is kicking butt for MS. And I go, multiple sclerosis? And they go, yes. I go, I don't have any protocol for that. Are you running fibromyalgia? And they all went, yep. So doctors are using it every day and looking at the lists that we have. And if it's not an exact match, which a lot of them are, they're making a bridge, right? Is it that one's kind of what it is, toxic? I'll give you an example. I did not know how awful Lyme disease was until a year and a half ago. Yeah. I've never had it, but I have so many people contact me on it that I finally started doing research on it. Good news, bad news. The research shows 1 to 4 hertz will kill the bacteria. But the bacteria is a mean little nasty guy and he spits poison out when you kill him. Okay. So that's the problem. Is I have a Facebook group that all have Lyme disease. It worked for 100% of them because it made them all sick. Right. So you have to lower the power level, trying to come up with the right recipes, lower the power level, then run liver protocol to get the toxicity to clean out your system and alternate back and forth. So we're trying to find that right recipe. If we do, we're going to save so many people's lives, literally. It makes you cry having to talk to these people in these Facebook groups with Lyme disease. It is that awful and horrible of a disease. I don't wish that on anybody. So yeah. There's things like that all the time that come across, and you just go, try this, see if it works.
Mark, we've covered an enormous amount of stuff. We've sort of got to a time where it might be really nice to break, and maybe we can do a second part. It's been a pleasure sharing with you. Would you be okay to maybe have a second podcast as a follow-up to this?
Of course, absolutely. That'd be fantastic.
I would love to do that. Well, for those listening, you're listening to Mark Fox, he's a rocket scientist. He's an author. He's an inventor. He's an entrepreneur. He's CEO and founder of Rezona Health. And we've been talking about pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. and really some of the reasons why it's not been advanced, at least in the US, and some of the reasons why we should be thinking about it and looking toward it. I've got so many questions still. If you're listening, tune in for part 2 because it will be interesting. I want to drill down on more about Mark's devices and how that's going to work for individuals. Mark, thanks so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
For those listening, as always, I really am grateful that you've taken the time to listen and tune in. Hopefully we're raising your health literacy. If you have any queries or questions, drop us a note at info@drwarrickbishop.online. Till next time, of course, I hope you live as well as possible. For as long as possible, take care and bye for now.
Thanks again.
Join the Healthy Heart Network and become part of our growing community. If you're interested in your heart health and risk of heart attack, then join the Healthy Heart Network for only $5 as a lifetime member. This represents $55 worth of value. We offer and help people understand their present state of heart health, what their current level of risk is, and the positive steps they can take to improve their risk of heart attack in the future. Go to www.healthyheartnetwork.com.au and click the Join the Family button.